What happened? You can actually, Shohini,
Remember
you can
how there were two.
stop the recording. Stop the recording. Only start it after.
All right, I'm going to say this again. All right. Welcome, everybody. I think the numbers keep on increasing, which is good. I think this is something that a lot of people want to know about. A lot of people are interested on how they can migrate to Canada. So before I hand it over to the three of you, the three panelists who are going to cover the important topics, I'm just going to introduce you guys very briefly and then talk about the agenda of today's webinar. And now let's see if I can share the screen. Can you guys see the stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not what I want you to see. Wait, can you see my PowerPoint or what do you see exactly?
PowerPoint.
Okay,
PowerPoint, before you go into the slide mode, just the slides.
Yeah, and you don't see the Word document when it comes up? Do you see
I
that?
see the Word document also.
Yeah.
I hate that. Okay, never mind. How are you all today?
Good. How are you?
We're good. Thank you.
I'm good. Just waiting for
It's a long weekend here in Canada, so I'm happy.
Okay, good. All right. So today we have Ketan, so I'm just going to introduce the panelists. So first we have Ketan, who did his PhD in cellular and structural biology from University of Texas Health Science Center. Over the last decade, he has studied different neuropsychological, psychiatric, or addiction-related disorders. Currently, he is studying the Rett syndrome at Syracuse University, and he has special interest in writing and career development. Then we have Roshni, who did her PhD in neuroscience, and then after a 4-year postdoc in Baylor College of Medicine, she moved to Canada in 2019, and currently she's working as a field application scientist in Neuroscience, which is a Toronto-based startup. And then our third panelist is Richa. She did her PhD in cancer biology, and soon after she transitioned into industry, where she worked in an oncology consultant company for more than 3 years. Last year, she moved to Canada, and then within a month and a half of landing in Canada, she got a job. She wants to keep working in the clinical development of oncology drugs, and she has received a lot of help and support when she was transitioning out and then moving to Canada, and she wants to help all the newcomers as much as she can. So these are our panelists. And then for the agenda for today's webinar, the topics that will be covered by our panelists, we have the PR process, we have volunteering opportunities in Canada, then early settlement. So once you land, how do you go about settling there? The networking, which will include both LinkedIn and in person. Then we have how it's like working in a Canadian startup environment, and then the job resources that are available to work in Canada. With that, I am going to stop my screen sharing, and now it's all up to you guys.
Hey, thanks, Sohini, for those kind words of introduction.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. So I guess I'll go ahead and start the PR process part. So I've kept my presentation very, very brief. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So for those of you who are not familiar with Canadian terminology, just like we have states in the US, we have provinces in Canada. And just a brief disclaimer before I jump into the subject matter. So none of us are immigration experts. We can't get you a job. We wish we could, but we can't. And what we're telling you are our personal experiences, and this is what has worked for us. May or may not work for you, so keep that in mind. Whether Canada is going to be a good fit for you or not is something you have to figure out yourself. We can't, obviously, we can kind of give you our opinions, but it's up to you to figure that out. Most of us went through the PR process by ourselves. We didn't hire an immigration consultant. So it's compared to the US immigration process, the Canada PR process is fairly straightforward. So you can do it on your own. Most people pursue opportunities in Toronto. That does not mean that there aren't opportunities in other cities. So I encourage you to explore opportunities in other parts of Canada based on your field of interest or whatever you're looking for. And finally, most of us went through this PR process and we probably started in 2018 sometime, and then we got our PRs in 2019. So it's been a year, and because of COVID, there may have been some changes in timelines. There may have been changes in fees. So please make sure to update yourself with that. And towards the end of my slides, I will give you some resources regarding that. So let's jump into the talk. So basically what I'm going to be focusing on today is the federal skilled worker or the express entry program that is it's popularly known as. And there are other routes of getting into Canada, immigrating to Canada, like the provincial nomination program, the federal skills program, and the Canadian experience program. But in most of these cases, you already have to be physically in Canada working for a year, or you have to have a Canadian job offer or a Canadian degree, or hold a specific occupation that is in demand in certain provinces. So there are more detailed criteria for those, and please feel free to look them up, but I'm going to be focusing on express entry. Okay. So this picture, which I got from Pinterest, is kind of a good representation of all the different processes that you go through before finally getting your permanent residency card that lets you stay and work in Canada. So you basically start off by doing a educational credential assessment, which is basically an agency in Canada called WES Canada will evaluate your degree to make sure that it's equivalent to a Canadian degree, and that gets you a certain number of points. So the Canadian immigration process is all points based, and whether or not you can apply for PR is based on whether you make a cutoff that is announced every month. That's a certain number of points. So if you make more points than the cutoff, then you're invited to apply. So the first step is the educational credential assessment. Then you put in certain criteria that make up the comprehensive ranking score, or the CRS, and I'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide. After you do that, you will also go through an English proficiency exam, which you have to give. And there are different ones, but the most common one is the IELTS exam. After you've done all that and you put in your IELTS scores, you will get a cumulative CRS score. And let's say it's more than what the cutoff is, then you're invited to apply. And that invitation to apply is abbreviated as ITA. Because your cutoff is more, you're invited to apply. And after that, you have to go through a medical exam and arrange police certificates from wherever you've lived in, from any countries you've lived in for more than 10 years. After that, you have to also arrange for proof of funds. And that is based on whether you're a single person, a couple, or a family. And that can range from anywhere from $12,960 to $34,300. Finally, you complete your online application for immigration. You upload any additional documents like your work experience. And then after you've cleared all that and you are invited to submit your passport, you will get a temporary visa to go to Canada. And once you land in Canada, you have to interview with an immigration officer, give them a Canadian address. Hopefully you have a family member or a friend there. If you don't, you can always arrange for a PO box. And then you receive your PR. And once you get your PR card, you can freely travel in and out of the country. So I told you a little bit about the comprehensive ranking score, and there are just different criteria that have different points. So your marital status gives you X number of points, or age gives you X number of points. Your level of education, if you have a PhD, for example, will give you the highest number of points if you can prove that it's equivalent to a Canadian PhD. Having a degree from a Canadian institution gets you additional points. Work experience and IELTS, depending on your score, gives you additional points. If you have French proficiency, you can get more points. Having a valid job offer gets you additional points for specific occupations. And then finally, a provincial nomination certificate can get you a lot of points, but that's usually only for specific professions. And finally, if you have a blood relative, like a brother or sister living in Canada as a PR or a citizen, then you can get 15 points. So if you are interested, what I encourage you all to do is the link that I have on top here is a CRS calculator. So you can at least put in your age and other criteria to just see what kinds of points you're getting, what is your sum total. And to give you an idea, the last cutoff was 476. So that just tells you that that's kind of the range of scores that you have to be in to be invited to apply. So we already covered most of this. So I'll just end with some volunteering opportunities. So there's a website called volunteertoronto.ca that has a list of volunteering opportunities for different fields. And then Roshni actually sent me this volunteering opportunity for science policy. And I believe the next round of invitations will be in January of next year. And there may be other volunteering opportunities that I encourage you to seek out through Google. What is important is that these volunteering opportunities will help you build Canadian experience, which sometimes employers ask for. And what this also does is kind of builds your reputation of having worked in Canada, even though it's a volunteering position. And I'll end with some additional resources that helped me when I was going through PR. One was this YouTube channel called Canadian Dreams. It's an Indian couple that moved from, I believe, from Punjab to Canada. And they talk about their journey from start to finish, including being laid off from a job and how do you deal with that, applying for jobs, resumes, interviewing, purchasing a house. So they've gone through, you know, every possible stage you can think a new immigrant would go through. The other was this Facebook group called Moving to Canada, which was really, really useful. They walk you through the entire process. They also have a website. It's a free group. If you're interested in having additional resources for IELTS, then you can go through IELTS Liz, which is a free YouTube channel. And finally, there are people on LinkedIn that offer you advice on job hunting. And one of them is this guy called Azif Razin. He's a finance person, but he also always has very insightful posts about what can help you with approaching employers, making connections, things like that. So with that, I will stop.
All right, Caitlin, just I think there were two questions from
Okay.
points.
Yeah, I was trying to read and look at the orange blinking things.
It's fine. So I think one of the questions Richa already answered, which is like
Okay.
from all the, which was from which country do we need to get the police certificate, country of residence or home country?
Yeah.
And it was from.
It is more than, I'm sorry, it's the last, more than 6 months in the last 10 years. So for example, I, unfortunately, in the 12 or 11 years I had lived in the US, I did not get to go home and live for more than 6 months. So I ended up not needing an Indian police certificate, even though I was from India. So I only needed the US one, which is the FBI clearance certificate, which you can get pretty easily.
And
Okay.
I applied from the US, and for me, I had to, I got the FBI clearance from the US, and from the Indian embassy in US, they gave me the police clearance. So you have to just approach the Indian
you
embassy.
can also get, so I did get
Yeah.
the Indian one just as a backup, but you have to get it from the consulate that serves your state. So for example, I was living in Arizona, so I had to get it from the San Francisco consulate. For Houston, it's probably Texas or
Houston.
something like that.
For Texas, it's Houston, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and like for Indian states, wherever you are living, you can just go and approach the nearest police station and they will provide you the certificate. And yeah, for like USA, it's much easier now. Earlier, it was only by mail, but I think in 2019, just a couple of months before I applied, they had made it all online. You just had to pay the fee and you had to submit your fingerprints and they gave you the certificate. So it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So one of the questions here is, can remote volunteering effort in a Canadian organization consider? Yes, it can be considered Canadian experience.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So there's one more in the question and answer box, which is, are we allowed to bring our parents as dependents to stay in Canada permanently?
Not until they hold a PR, so they can come on a visitor's visa for 6 months. Like it's just like how it happens in
And
the
the
US.
super visa, there is something called
Yeah.
super visa, which is a longer visa for 2 years. Or
Mhm.
other thing is that you can finance their PR, like you can sponsor them. But I mean, again, like these are some questions which are not like, like encountered by us. So it would be best if you go and ask for help from somebody who has already done it or who is an expert in this field.
Yeah. And you can also look up questions on the IRCC website, which is IRCC is the immigration handling body for Canada. So, and the Facebook group that I mentioned, Moving to Canada, that's moving with the number 2 Canada. You can join them. They have a lot of excellent resources. There are people that talk about their journey from start to finish. So you can get all of these detailed questions answered there.
And volunteering when you're on an H-1B in the US, yes, you can volunteer.
Yeah.
I don't think
In
that's a problem.
H1B, you cannot accept paid positions, but you can definitely volunteer.
Okay, so we have tons of questions coming in. How about Roshni, you go ahead and then we will answer all the questions that are. I'm keeping track of all the questions. If they don't get answered, you please post them again. But we have a lot of questions coming in, so might as well go ahead with all the topics and then we can come back to the questions.
I would also encourage everyone to please maybe listen to all of us to see if we answer your questions and then ask your questions, okay?
Yeah, I think it's Richard's turn now. So Richard, you would like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it. All right. Is it there? Can you guys see it?
It says started screen sharing and now we can see. Yep.
Okay, yeah, but I need to put it on
slideshow.
Presenter mode, I think, or
yeah,
presentation mode.
Yeah. All right, I think it should be good now. All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Is it there? Okay. Yep. So yeah, the disclaimer, I think Ketan has already covered it very well. So whatever information is here is actually from our experiences, and we are not the professional bodies to answer, but we are just trying to help you guys. So the topics that I am covering right now are early settlement and pre-arrival LinkedIn networking. So after your arrival here and in-person networking and about a lot of job search things, Roshni will be taking a session and she will be doing it very effectively. I'll be just touching upon these things. And the first thing that I want, I would request all of you to check very closely coming from your own PR confirmation mail. I have spoken to many people who were in the same boat who got a PR, and I was, surprised to see how many people missed the resources that were given in the confirmation mail itself. So you scroll down, and the government gives you a link. Okay, they encourage you to go register on that link, explore the things, and you get started. We did that, and we were able to do a lot more, preparation before we even landed. Second thing is like Facebook groups. I think they are very good. There is one for Toronto, which is called Indians in Toronto. And any query I had, be it about which SIM I should be using and which plan I should be using so that my Indian SIM is active here for the minimum cost, you just post your query there and you get a reply. People are really helpful, and there is a lot of information you can get from there. And other thing I would be talking about is things to do after landing and a note on settlement agencies. Yeah, but before we do all this, I want you all to know one thing. that Canadian government is one of the very few governments which invest a lot in helping the newcomers and immigrants. I have not seen many governments doing and taking so many efforts. The resources are all there. The resources are free to use. Please go ahead, find about them and use them for your benefit. So after landing, the first thing that you do is to apply for a PR card. Pre-COVID times, your PR card and your SIM card, both of the things were issued while you were coming out of the airport. PR card, for that you have to give an address. So if you don't have an address, most of us may not have, you will have to give an address of some friend or somebody or some relative where they can mail it. Pre-COVID, it used to come in 2 to 4 weeks. Mine came in 2 weeks, but I think it's going to take slightly more longer now because of the backlog. SIM card, we got our SIN numbers right there. Sorry, they are not cards. Basically SIN numbers, they just publish it on a paper, print it on a paper and give you. But I think right now they are not giving it on the airport to minimize the interaction, and you can apply for them online. The third thing is a Presto card. So a Presto card is something that you can use for your commute. It works on many agencies here, many commuting options. So there are subways, there are buses, there are different bus companies, and the Presto card works on most, if not all. It's very helpful and it's also cheaper than the paper alternative. So I know that the government was pushing for all Presto and no paper tickets. They have not done that yet. But again, like, please buy yourself a Presto card, and I would suggest keep two just in case something happens. Next thing is bank account opening or activation. So you can either, I opened my bank account from India. So there are two banks that are two Canadian banks that have offices in New Delhi in India. One is Scotia Bank and the other one is TD Bank. And I know that HSBC and ICICI have branches here, even SBI. So you can open a bank account from India and then activate it here, or you can just come and open your account here after finding out. Perform a research, ask other people's. Different banks, they are rolling out different incentives at different time. So you can find out what services you would like. If there is any incentive, there was, I think some bank was giving an iPad when I came. I of course did not go for that because I had already opened my account, but I think it would be a good incentive to have. So do all that research, and this is something that you should take probably an appointment like slightly before coming. Right now you would be in quarantine. So while you are there, just call the bank and take an appointment so that it's not delayed. Why is it important? Because here, one thing that is very important is your credit history. So if you have to make all your purchases when you are here, and it's better to do it on your credit card than anything else. So it's better to have your credit card ready in time. Other thing is purchasing your SIM card. There are several service providers. Again, you can ask on Indians in Toronto Facebook group or some other people, your friends, what they are using, which would be a good one. You can go online, and many companies, they also have like promotional offers. You can avail one of them. You can go for prepaid, postpaid, whatever. But this is again something that should be ready, because this phone number is something that you would need to put on your resume and other places also. If you are parents, there are 3-4 things that you would need to take care of. The first thing is childcare benefit. Childcare benefit is a small monetary help which is given by government to all the parents for the kids, and the amount increases for smaller kids, and it decreases as your kids age is growing. So for this you have to submit an application, and I'll tell you where you can submit this application. The other thing is school admission. For school admission, wherever you are, whichever school admission is actually by the PIN code, or the area where you are living. You cannot just go to any school. You should be living in that region. All you have to do is to take the immunization record of your child, your address proof, so that they can verify, okay, yeah, you live in this region, and then walk in any school. The schools cannot deny you any admission here, as long as you are living in the same area. So that's very easy. It's a very quick process. The other thing is childcare application. For parents who are working, they will have to get a place in the childcare. it can get tricky because most of the childcare, they actually have, sorry, I can actually minimize this. Yeah. So most of the childcare, they have a long waiting list. So it's better to get your child enrolled in the closest childcare. And most of these childcare, they run either very close to the school buildings or sometimes in the school buildings itself. So once you have finalized upon your location, your house, where if you are renting or you are living with somebody, you can look for the closest school, whether they have a PLAS is one of the childcare name, or a YMCA nearby, and just sort everything. The other one is childcare subsidy. Again, this is something that's that's an incentive given by the government, and it depends on your income. So when you are coming from India, especially for those people when their income is converted to Canadian dollars, it's low, and they can get a huge subsidy on their childcare expenses. I think the only thing is that both of the parents should be working to avail this subsidy. I mean, you cannot say that, okay, I'm home and I still want to send my child to childcare. You can, of course, send your child to the childcare, but you cannot avail the subsidy till both of you show the proof. So again, there can be a waiting list to get the appointment for this childcare subsidy, and I would encourage everybody to, go for it as soon as possible. Another government incentive is some GST HST benefit. This is a small benefit that is given. You just have to fill your form. Again, you have to give your income and everything, your I think PR number and different things. When did you land, where did you land, all that information, and you start getting it in your bank account. And the next one is your OHIP, or the health insurance plan. So you would have seen that most of these things that I'm showing here are very specific to Ontario, but I'm sure that all these things are there in other states. The dates or specifics might vary. But again, OHIP is something that kicks in Ontario, the government health plan, that it kicks in after 3 months of your landing. So for the first 3 months, you should have your own insurance. Please do not come without insurance because the healthcare expenses can be really high here. For the first 3 months, you have your own insurance. You have, in these 3 months, sometimes, I mean, ideally in first few days only, you should go to a Service Canada branch, Service Ontario branch, apply for your OHIP card. And the OHIP card, it usually lands just before your 3 months are completing. So mine came just, I think, a week before my 3 months were completing, and it's pretty smooth. Right now, I think because there is slight backlog in the OHIP cards coming, the government has actually removed the remove the requirement for urgent care, urgent medical care. If you have something in urgent, please walk to some healthcare center or something and tell them that your OHIP card has not come, and let's see what they can do for you. And one thing that I cannot emphasize enough on is like registering with the local settlement agencies. These all agencies, they are all not-for-profit organizations. They run without charging anything to you. All the services are free, and there are so many services that you can avail from here. So this is something that you should do. Register to some settlement, maybe more than one settlement agency if you think that some service is not provided. Get your driving license, at least, get the process started. Get your driving extract from India, which should be stamped and certified. And then you should apply up for your DL. Another very crucial thing is a library card. Libraries here are very, rich in terms of the resources they offer. There are a lot of in-person things apart from books. There are so many sessions for your kids. If you're free, you can take them there. And there are so many online resources that you are able to avail through your library. So there is this website, lynda.com. There are so many courses, and usually the courses are charged there. But if you are coming through your library, there is a certain period for which you don't have to pay anything. You can avail those courses. You can have those certifications in your CV. So this is another thing that's very helpful. Now about settlement agencies, like I already told, they are very helpful, and the services that you can avail from there are like language and orientation classes, like counseling, interpretation and translation, information, like if you want to know what are the different taxes that get deducted here, what are different account types. When you open a bank account, you are bombarded with new terms, RRSP, RESP, TFSA. All this information you might be able to get through your settlement agencies. They keep holding webinars, and they are very informational. and even some referral. So like there is a service here which is called Furniture Bank. It's for low income families and for the newcomers who come in who cannot, just go ahead and buy new furniture. If you want, you can apply and get a referral for Furniture Bank, which provides you like good, and it's a second hand and used furniture. It's a donated furniture, but it's very good. You can pick a furniture of your choice and all that for a very nominal fee, for just for delivery fee. The other thing that you can get is like job training. So some terms that we learned here are like, Canadian style resume. They are very different. So you won't even realize how different they are till your resume is transformed to a Canadian style. And trust me, if it's not Canadian style, Canadians are slightly, I realize that the companies are slightly conservative in, choosing what they want to see, how they want to see the information, and it's better to get it done. So these settlement agencies, they will work very hard on changing your resume to Canadian style. And I think Roshni would be covering more on, what are the different styles that can be um, chronological or functional or a mix of those. And they will also help you with a cover letter. They will tell you how to, target each job application, make a targeted resume, make a targeted cover letter. They will help you. They will give you a lot of information on job fairs if they are happening. There can be legal assistance that you would be able to get, health services, and I have a slide on health services, and the community centers. Community centers, again, if you are a newcomer, there is some government incentive. You can get some $200 per quarter or something as a token money from government, and you can use it against swimming and gym and several different things, Zumba class and several different things. So please avail all these things. So the link that is shown here, it's basically about all the settlement agencies in Ontario. You don't have to worry about this if you're not coming to Toronto or not in Ontario. There would be enough settlement agencies near you. Just Google. Government also supports you if you want to study further. There are government loans that they would be able to give you. You will have to find if you qualify for them or not. There are adult learning centers. If you have come here, you have a job, but if you want to, get a certification in, say, accounting or something, there are adult learning centers where you can go attend their evening classes or the weekend classes and go. And there are co-op programs. What these programs do, they may have their own course for, say, 6 to 7 weeks. After that, they will try to place you in another company. And then you will see in many cases, the people who are placed in a different company, in a co-op company, basically they get absorbed. In many cases, they get a network, but eventually it's very good for networking. And another term that I heard after coming here is survival jobs. So, basically the jobs that you can do as a, data entry job or in a warehouse, Amazon, Tim Hortons, or this. Personally, it should be your decision if you need it or not. Or if you want to give yourself a runway. Okay, so I won't take up any job in first 6 months because I have enough funding. What Ketan told you, the numbers he told you, the government ensures that you have some, cash with you, and you're not out of the cash, and you're not that desperate, and you can focus on your this thing like getting a job. But if you want to go for a job, the good thing is that nobody looks down upon you here. All the jobs are very good. They command respect. And, if you want, you should definitely go for it. It should be your decision. So one settlement agency, I put this settlement.org, and I realized that it's again for, Ontario. And here you can see, you can find services near this agency if you go by the area. And if you scroll down, you can actually see more, more options by kind of services that you would need or something. And I would now show some of these settlement agencies that I used. Costi was one, and I did a certification program, which was about, Canadian workplace. How do you work how do you mingle in Canadian workplace? And people, when they talk about Canadian experience, I think having a certificate like this would be good. There was something called Planning for Canada, and they had 1 day session, a day-long session in Delhi. I went and attended. It was more of an orientation session. There was Canada Infonet. That was the first agency which started working on my resume and cover letter. There was JVS Toronto, which had their own sessions and things. They had their classes, and till JVS Toronto, all these things. I got the information through the PR mail that I had received from the government, and I had clicked on that link, and one thing led to other. They actually make an individualized plan for you, which you can utilize. After coming here, because I am in Malton, I went and registered myself in Malton Neighborhood Services. There were again so many things. So this was the place where people helped me with filing my childcare benefit application and my GST HST application. I just went and took all my application, details. They helped me fill the applications, and they even posted it for me, and my benefits started soon after. There is Center for Education and Training, again a very good place. You can access computer. If you don't have internet in the initial days, you can get some printouts for free, like of your CV and all. You get attached to, you are assigned a career counselor who helps you again work on your CV and resume and everything, and they actually give you a bus pass, or a small, say, Walmart pass for $50 or $60 in case you want to buy some outfit, want to buy a nice shirt for an interview. They help you with that. There is job skills. I attended a program with them that was a co-op program again, but I got my job before I could finish it, so I didn't attend that. But very good. And at this place, in their program, they also help you find out the different job titles you can go for based on your NOC. So I think that is one struggle that we face. We don't even realize. I'm sorry. Yeah, we don't even realize what are the things that we can go for, but they help you understand how to work towards this part, looking for the titles, looking for the positions you can apply to. There was Catholic Cross Cultural Services. They found me the furniture bank referral, and I was able to get some furniture initially while I had come in an unfurnished apartment. And finally, there is this Newcomer Center of Peel. I'm actually enrolled in one course from them, which is very good. It's like starting your own business in Canada. They tell you everything from feasibility analysis, from basic of accounting, marketing, your business plan, and everything. It's a very good. You have 3 advisors, and you can always go back to them in case you don't need to, you don't plan to register or open your business immediately, but say after 6 months or 1 year. They are very nice people, and they actually help you out. All these, every single thing here was free and provided by government, which is why I said that Canadian government is actually very pro-immigrants and very immigrant-friendly institution. Please avail the opportunities. Now, something I saw that there are health services for newcomers. This is actually a hyperlinked thing, and you would be able to find the link later. So there are certain, so like I already told, that you will be getting your OHIP 3 months after your health card, 3 months after your landing. But in this time, you should have your own insurance. However, if something happens, there are certain free services, and the language interpretation is also available. You can just keep expanding them and see if you qualify. They will check some things, and they will help you out. There are some special numbers. I don't know all, but whatever I remembered, I wrote here, like 211 for community health and social services. You can call them and ask where, what are the nearest, say, community center to you, what is the nearest settlement agency for you, and all that. Municipal services, if you see something dug up or a road being repaired or something, and you want to know more about that, you can call them. Traffic information, 511. 811 for telehealth services, and 911 for emergency services. And 911, again, like in absolute emergency, you should call them. And then like there are some paid special numbers like 411 for directory assistance. So basically you want to know, you are not able to get somebody's number or something from internet. You can try your luck here. This is a paid service, so you would be charged something on your SIM, but you might be able to find the information from them. So this is all about settlement and everything. Another thing is like that I wanted to cover was pre-arrival LinkedIn networking. So like Sohini told that I got my job in 1.5 months of landing here. But I had started my networking, I think, not just networking, but because like, the entire process, I think the preparation for like at least 1 year before that. what I did and what helped me was, having a spreadsheet where I wrote down the name of companies that I might be able to find, the contact people who is there from those companies on LinkedIn, and whether I would be able to approach them or not. Now, there are so many people on LinkedIn, and I have heard it very frequently that, you do not get responses from people when you try to reach out to them. I think, you might try to change the way you are reaching out to them and see if it works or not. Please never connect with somebody, just send that notification to them. Don't do that. Write a note about yourself. Write a note about why you are interested in connecting with them and how it may mutually benefit you too. There were people when I knew that, there is nothing that I can offer them, but I knew that if I connect to them, I would be learning a lot from their experience, from their career path and all. I did that. I wrote that. And like 80 to 90% of time, people actually accept your connection request. Now, when they are accepting your connection request, they would be going to your LinkedIn profile. There are 2-3 things that I would say. First thing, your LinkedIn profile should be professional. I keep it apolitical, not because I am a apolitical person, I'm not, but I don't want people to have bias when I am not in that stage where I can afford that bias against me. Your LinkedIn profile should be complete, your information should be there, and it should be, if possible, it should be active. And Roshni is very active on LinkedIn, and she might be able to tell you, how to, write small things, how to write about things that interest you, so that your last post is not from, say, 2018 when you are contacting somebody in 2020. Another thing, is like requesting for informational interviews. So now informational interviews were also something that I only heard here. There are certain things that you should do and certain big no-nos, and like very quickly I will touch upon those. Informational interviews are different from job interviews, but I think they are pretty good practice. When I look for informational interviews, so there was, say, some position in AstraZeneca. I looked up, at the position, and I'm like, okay, I probably do not understand this part. I started looking at LinkedIn, and I found somebody who is in that team. And I'm like, okay, probably this is the best chance that I have in understanding more about the team, what kind of work they do, and what they are looking for in a particular person. I send this person a connection request. Again, I never just send that connect thing. I always send them a small paragraph saying, okay, so I was looking at this position and I thought I could use little information, and if you would be kind enough to give me 10 or 15 minutes of your time. And like I said, like 80 to 90% time, I get a positive response. What you should never do is to make your job search their responsibility. Your job search is your responsibility. Please don't burden people. People get put off. People, usually back off when you leave a lot on them to do, that never offer that, okay, can I please send my resume to you? No, don't ask them. You had asked them some questions like, okay, what is the team like? What is this? What is that? In the conversation, if they ask you, okay, so are you interested in this position? Did you find this position? You tell them. They say, okay, do you want me to take a look at your resume? That would be wonderful. But if they are not doing, please don't do that. Again, they are informational interviews. They are not help interviews. What you should be coming out with from an informational interview is either information or further networking opportunity. The person may not know, the person who is giving you that interview may not know everything. You feel free to ask them, like, is there somebody else you can connect me with? Do that. And again, as long as you're not making your job search their responsibility, don't say, okay, can you please tell me more about the jobs in this area? Don't do that. You have settlement agencies, you have job skills, you have NOC codes, you have a lot of help there. Do your background research, do your homework, and just go with very specific questions so that they are forthcoming to you. And I think, that's all I have for now. So over to you, Sohini.
I'm muted. Okay, I think that was a lot of good resources, especially for people for settling in early. And also, you covered a lot of things about LinkedIn approaches and your time frame. And I think that's something people also need to have in mind, that how long it actually takes for you to start the process and for you to get a job. So that's so that people know that it's not a 1 month or a 2 month thing. It does take time from the time that you decide that you want to migrate to another country until you getting a job. Okay, so I think now it's over to Roshni to talk about the job environment, and also she's also going to touch up a little bit about networking as well, and also resume.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a lot on my plate. So we can just skim through, see all these information. It is available online. It's getting you to that, where you can find what the keywords should be to start searching. And just as Ketan and Richa said, we are all very new here. Most of the information is just very personal. What we learned, it's just been here for a year now, and well, 8 months was COVID. So, and
Roshni,
about
your voice is breaking in between.
Oh, really? Am I not
yeah,
clear?
Like right now it's perfect, but there's a lot of breaks while you're talking.
I'm
so
sorry, maybe bad internet. No, I was just saying that we're all very new here, and it's just a lot of very information from personal experiences. And I would say what my job here is purely networking, and I didn't know a person in Canada. I didn't have referrals in Canada. I took normally on an average it takes 4 or 5 months that you get a job. So even if you, am I not clear yet?
You like it's like on and off, like it's happening intermittently. So it's like I would have to pause you every few seconds to tell you that.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry for
and
this.
then all of a sudden it's like the fact when you're talking about, you said something about 3-4 months. So that part got like completely disrupted.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's
maybe Shohini, you can do this if her voice is getting warbled or something.
I don't know what I can do to fix this
and then
now.
you can do this when it switches back, so you know that
so I'm on police duty. Okay, done.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix this problem. It might just be bad internet in my house, and sorry about that. If you want me to repeat, just
fine. Right now it's perfectly fine.
Can you believe it? Okay. Okay. So I was just talking about networking in Canada. Networking here is really very important. That and Canadians are sorry guys, I don't know how to fix this problem now.
I think someone suggested that we should turn our videos off.
So we will.
Okay, we can try that.
Yeah.
Maybe Shohini, you can keep yours on. Richa and I will turn ours off.
Okay, let's see if that works.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Okay, is this clear? Or should I just exit Zoom and re-enter?
No, I think you're fine now. Let's see if turning off the videos helped or not. Let's see that.
Okay, sure. So I was again talking about networking here in Canada. Here networking is like, I think there's a hidden job market in Canada that can be accessed only through networking and referrals. And I would always tell people, if you know someone in Canada in the industry, please use your referral first. That is your one short way to get an interview. Like from an interview to the job is totally on your shoulder, but it will ensure that you get your interview here. You have someone, a friend of a friend, reach out and totally go through your networks first. The second thing is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, people in Canada are very active on LinkedIn. It is just that when you reach out to the people, what worked for me was I would not reach out to the HR, and it's just that it's very overwhelming for them, and they might not know the job description properly. Your HR is not your hiring manager, right? So it's always easier to get your resume on to your hiring manager. I was very active on LinkedIn. I knew that instead of going general in the search, I'm from a neuroscience background, so I did a very targeted neuroscience approach to my LinkedIn. I would post once in every 3 days roughly with information about neuroscience. I would hashtag about all the neuroscience tags that I could get, and actually it started getting noticed. It's just 2 or 3 lines of yours. Instead of randomly sharing posts on neuroscience or post your posts, write 2 or 3 lines about it and hashtag. And I actually got noticed, and my current boss, she reached out to me on LinkedIn, and after that she posted the job and I applied for it. it took me 4 to 5 months, but aggressively, and then meeting people, like, I don't know, because of the COVID now the situation might be different, but actually meeting people and talking to them is one way of, you know, connecting with them and having a relationship. And that actually helps. Like, people, if they don't even have, like, it doesn't matter if they cannot refer you, it doesn't matter, they can always ask, can I talk to someone else? Can you suggest, you know, that I talk to someone else? And that actually helps. So I briefly touched up on the LinkedIn aspect. I'll share my screen right now. Did it come across? Can you guys see it? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so basically I work in a startup. I'll touch up on the startups and the working environment in Canada. So what I have seen is the common careers that's available for STEM professionals in Canada is, I've not seen a lot of R&D positions, but definitely yes, postdoc positions are available. So I think postdoc positions are easier to get also. Postdoc research associate positions. Then what I have commonly seen are medical regulatory affairs positions, like medical science liaison, regulatory affairs associate, medical affairs coordinator. These are jobs that come up very frequently. And you know, regulatory and clinical research are two things that's very common in Canada, but they look for licenses and certifications. So I always think that Canadians like licenses and certifications. If you can get a certification or a license and show it on your resume, it would be super helpful. And business development positions. So more than R&D, a lot of companies have their manufacturing, sales and development in Canada. So you will find positions related to such things like technical sales, product manager, field application scientist, you know, such sales, and even business development positions, business analyst positions, data analyst positions, medical writing, medical editing, scientific writing. There are a lot of communication, science communication kind of positions that come up very frequently here. So this is just, and clinical research associate positions. Yes, so a little bit of clinical research experience, if you can gain, especially if you are in the US or in India, if you are a PhD student and your your grad school offers all these, you know, kind of volunteer positions, please take it and put it, and after you get at least 6 months of experience, put it on your resume. It actually helps you here. They appreciate the work experience. You know, if you can transition before you land here, it might be a little more easier. Then the Canadian resume format. Resume formats are like we have in STEM Peers and on Gurukul, these resume formats have been told over and over again. So it is a, you know, Canadian experience matters a lot. And that's why what Ketan said is important about the volunteer experience that you can gain. People here are, you know, I would say it's very close-minded in that sense that they prefer Canadian experience first. And then Canadian okay. Shall I read it again? No? Is it still breaking? Oh. Well, should I cut my video? Will that help? Okay, it's clear now. Got it. Okay, so the Canadian address and phone number. Does this help now? If I cut my video?
Yeah, right now.
Okay, so let's continue with my, you know.
But you can still see me if I have to do the hand movements, right?
Sure. Yes, okay. I can. Okay, so talking about the Canadian address and phone number here, it is very important that you have a Canadian address and phone number on your resume and on your, because if you show that you're from different countries.
Somebody suggested that it can be your headphones. Do you want to try with just your speaker and see if that's better?
Okay, sure. Is this better?
Yeah, I mean, right now you're clear.
Might be better. Yeah, let's try with this. Thanks for that suggestion, though. Okay, so about the Canadian experience, Canadian address and phone number that I was actually talking about, it's very important that you have the Canadian address and phone number on your resume and on your
But I turn my video off as well, and I'll send you something on the chat box if it's not clear again.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
that.
Sorry
maybe
guys
that
for this all this confusion. I have no
it's
idea what's going on.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't know if you've heard that what I mentioned earlier, but let me mention it again. The Canadian address and phone number is very important on your resume and on your LinkedIn, because if you don't have a Canadian address and phone number and they assume that you're applying from outside the country, that chances you won't get called for the interview. And about resume formats here, two major types of resume formats are the reverse chronological resume. That is, okay, if you have a lot of work experience, for example, you are applying for what do I say, writing position, and you've already have a lot of experience in writing, go ahead and after your summary, after your 3 bullet point summary, your professional experience should come first. You're starting from your experience, and that's your chronological resume. So that's once this applies for people who have experience and who have already transitioned. But people who don't have experience and not transitioned, then I suggest that you functional resume. So functional resume, after your summary, you don't put your professional experience there, you put your skills there, your technical expertise there. Like if you are applying for scientist position, then show, cell culture, molecular biology, all those experiences should come first. That shows that even though you don't have experience in a particular job title, you still have the skill set for it. So that will leverage your chances of getting called for an interview. And always make sure that you keep your the information on your resume achievement oriented. Okay, I have some, I received 1 million in grants, or I have 10 papers published in this field. So, and avoid the unnecessary information there and make it very targeted to the job you're applying for. Canadian companies, they are very close-minded again, so they're not very forgiving. You shouldn't have like a photo there. They'll then start blacklisting you, and you won't even future interviews. So make sure that even before you start applying, you have all this ready. Don't randomly apply. Then okay. Now moving on to the Canadian startups. So I work in a startup, and these are resources that what I've put here is in Ontario, but as Rich and Ketan mentioned, you will definitely have such kind of resources in the you are applying to. So here is the
I think, Roshni, it might be worth it for you to log off and log back on, and maybe keep your headphone away from you.
Sure.
I don't know if that's causing problems, but you could try. You could try everything, I guess. Sorry.
Sure. Let me give me a second. Thank you.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, probably I can just add 1 or 2 points on resume thing that I think Roshni was really trying to cover. Oh, Roshni, you are here. Then you cover it. Yeah.
No, she just logged out.
Okay. Yeah. So I think she already told that you should have a Canadian address and a phone number on your resume and everything. And I just wrote to everybody that, don't waste your white space in writing references available upon request. It's very well understood. Use those 2 lines for something else. And your resume should be very well formatted. I mean, the resume should not come with, say, 2 or 3 different font styles or 2 or 3 different, font sizes within the same paragraph. These things are common. Sometimes we may not notice. Yeah. But, when you have 10 or 12 resumes in front of you, you won't even pick up the one which might have this thing, no matter how good it looks. No matter how
no spelling mistakes.
No spelling mistakes. Yeah, I mean, and these settlement agencies, they actually do a very fine job of going through your resume again and again. And one thing they emphasize on is having accomplishment statements. So just don't write that, I did a postdoc for 2 years. Rather turn it into accomplishment. What did you accomplish? Did you get like 2 articles from here, 1 review article and 1 publication? Did you teach some graduate students? Did you get some funding? They will actually be behind you to turn every statement in your resume to an accomplishment statement. Use numbers. Numbers are easier to spot. So do everything that makes your resume attractive.
Yeah, and I want to add one thing about while we're waiting for Roshni is when you're reaching out to people for informational interviews, try to make it more about them than about yourself. because you don't want to be coming across as desperate for a job. You also don't want to make it very, I mean, most people know when you're connecting with them, your ultimate goal is to get a job, but you don't want to make it seem like it's a completely selfish move on your part. Make it sound like you're interested in their experience, their job, what is their day-to-day like. So you have to give them importance, basically. And
Yeah, and I think right now in COVID times, what you can do if you had, connected with people while you were looking for some help or information, now is a good time to at least find out if they are doing okay in these crazy times, if they are doing safe, how is their job and everything. So yeah, that's very important point, Ketan.
Okay, there were a couple questions in the beginning after Ketan did his bit, and I'm not sure if you guys
I answered them.
Did you guys
I
answer
answered
the
a,
one from
I
China?
answered a few. There was one about whether your cousins can qualify as a relative for PR. I think it is only blood relationship, so it's only siblings. But you can double check the IRCC website and see. And the other one was the one I think that we answered about bringing your parents, which Richa answered.
There was some in the chat box much earlier. I don't know if you addressed those. Again, I'm not sure if any, like, you guys would know, which is about.
I think I just responded to that person and all the panelists. So.
Okay, so like the one about China, that did you get to?
Oh no, that one I don't think was there when I responded.
Yeah, so I think it's in the chat box. It's like, did anybody get it from China? I stayed a year there before, and then 5 years in USA.
So I would look up that Facebook group that I talked about, moving to Canada, because it's a global group. So there are people moving there are Indians living in other foreign countries and have had to get PCCs, police clearance certificates from those countries. So every country has a defined format. Unfortunately, in some places it takes longer than others. So it's good to do that, know about that beforehand. So I would just contact the consulate or embassy or the police station, wherever you are. And it should be a pretty straightforward process for the most part.
And there was another question in the beginning. Again, if that's been answered, then I'm sorry for repeating it. It says, if you're working in H-1B visa in USA, can you volunteer for Canada?
We already answered that.
You already answered that, okay.
So H-1B, the only rule is you cannot accept paid opportunities because that is in direct conflict with the conditions of the H-1B visa. But you can volunteer. As long as you don't accept any payment, you should be okay. And if you're really worried, you can talk to your international office at your university or wherever you're employed, and you can clear it with them. I always do that if it's something that I think could be viewed as, conflict of interest or conflict of violating the rules of the H-1B or something like that. So do your due diligence if you're really worried. Okay, Roshni, you want to give it another try now?
Sure, I really hope that, is it clear now?
Yes, you're clear now.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
perfect. Yes. Okay, so I was just about
I'm still going to switch
up
my video off. Just
no, I think you can, yeah, okay.
They already did. You can go ahead, yeah.
Sure. Okay. So I was just talking about the Canadian startups here. So I'm not sharing my PowerPoint. I'll just mention it. The startup, there's a non-profit organization which supports all the startups in Canada. In Ontario, it's Mars Discovery District. They have their own building and they host a lot of startups in there. So you can just register there. So every month they come out with the job vacancies that's available in the startups. I personally think that the startup is a easier way to get into the Canadian industry than big pharma. If you really don't know people in the big pharma and if you don't have experience, going the startup way might help. Because startups, they hire easily and they are very flexible. The only problem with startups is, I should say, when they come from the US, they're very disappointed with lower salaries in Canada and the higher tax. You have to be aware that the salaries are not comparable with the US. So Mars Discovery District is one place you should check out online. The other one is OBIO, the Ontario Bioscience Innovation Organization. It is also non-profit, and they have partnerships with industry. So when they're industry partners, they have requirements, job requirements, they post it on the OBIO job board. So if you check out the OBIO job board, you will find that there are vacancies posted, and you can email your resume to OBIO. So it doesn't guarantee you a job, but at least it might put your resume on the table of the hiring manager. Then the other one is MyTax. MyTax is, again, they are non-profit, and they have industry academia postdoc positions. So the good thing about these industry academia postdoc positions is that once you're done with it, it will make your path to the industry easier. The only challenge here is that it should be within 5 years of receiving your PhD. So that's what, and MyTax has a lot of projects. They have like MyTax Accelerate, MyTax Elevate. MyTax Accelerate is short-term projects, 4 to 6 months. MyTax Elevate are long-term projects where it's 2 to 3 years. So they are also industry-oriented postdoc positions. Having said that, then, so I think most of my experience here in Canada is that one of it is you have to ensure that your Canadian style CV is ready, chronological or functional. The smaller size of Canadian economy. So when you look at jobs, you will see that there are way more in the US than in Canada, and it's highly competitive. And Canadians, they give a lot of importance to referrals. So someone out there who has a referral, it may they will be called for the interview first. Then the second thing is the hiring timeline is 3 to 4 months. Don't panic. They take their time. They are laid back. So, you don't get responses from emails. It's a normal thing. You're not the only one, and you're not alone in that situation. They're very slow in responses. Even if you know the person, responses come like in 3 to 4 days. Okay, and then Canadians, the other important thing is they don't normally have the culture of hire and fire. They normally hire a person to retain them, and unless you are they run out of funding or the COVID happens, they normally make sure that this hiring is for a long-term process. So that is why they take their time. They go through your referrals and then they hire you. It's not as aggressive a job market as the US. So I guess I've covered most of it. Now, Sohini, we can even go through the questions if there are any.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is one question which is, usually in Canada, do people look for resume or CV? And Richard just answered it, but you can go ahead and answer.
Sorry, come again. I didn't hear that.
It says, in Canada, do people usually look for resume or a CV?
I think it would depend on the kind of position. So I think for most industry positions, it's just like the US. It's probably resume for industry positions. Yeah. For academic positions, it's probably still CV. Mm-hmm. So I would go with the kind of position and then figure out what but for most industry positions, it's probably resume.
And one thing about the Canadian resume, so recently my company was hiring, and I went through the resumes, and I noticed that, so we were hiring for a very particular kind of a position. It's like we needed electrophysiology, behavior studies, and I had lots of resumes coming in which said, oh, I have stem cell experience, I have molecular biology experience. I'm like, no. We're exclusively asking for electrophysiology. So I think it should be very focused. I'm just mentioning it. I know it should be not only in Canada, but in the US as well. But Canadians are very, very particular.
Okay, there's one question, which is, what is the best way to reach out to the MARS or OBIO? Do they answer if I send an email to their contact email of their website, or should I direct the queries to individual companies who are members?
Okay, so Mars, good question there. So Mars is just that they publish, it's just a job board. So you have to reach out to the individual companies who've posted their jobs there. But OBIO, they have given their email address there. You can email your resume to their email address that's mentioned in OBIO.
Okay.
And MyTax, they have their online application. When you click apply, they take you through the process.
All right.
And we can share our slides with you, Sohini, if you want to. Yeah, I don't know if you want to put them up so that for Roshni, at least whatever she couldn't go through via slides, maybe people can see it on her slides.
Yeah, if there's like Google Slides or something, what I can do is, because this is going to be uploaded on the YouTube channel of STEM Peers, and then as resources in the a description section, I can just paste links to those presentations, and then that way people can click on the hyperlinks also, which some of you had and everything, and they can do that. That might be helpful for them. Ketan, did you get a? Oh, so this is a new one. How is finding industry job opportunity in Canada being a postdoc in the USA?
I think Roshni is probably better equipped to answer that question.
How, as I said, try startups and all these resources that I said first. If you don't have a referral in a Canadian pharma already, like referrals work magic. Let's all face the reality. If you have really someone out there who you know in the pharma, go ahead and apply. That is your best chance at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and networking does really work. Recently, I was out of the blue contacted by someone, and they gave me 2 descriptions of roles, and they said, we'll forward your CV. Obviously, there's no guarantee that you'll get the job, but it does make you rise above the other 250 or 2000 candidates that are applying online, because your resume will get noticed. Try to, unfortunately, this is the truth nowadays, is LinkedIn is all about branding nowadays. So like Roshni was talking about her branding, about posting something about neuroscience every so often. You have to have a LinkedIn persona, something that you're about. So for example, for me, I'm trying to make my profile about medical writing and career development. So I write articles about career development, and then I'll host events or participate in events about career development. So I'm trying to develop those 2 facets on LinkedIn, if that makes sense. Then Richa, I know, was writing articles through Medness on clinical trials or products or things like that. So you have to come up with what you're targeting, and then build your profile accordingly so that people notice you. So that's another part of getting a job.
And another thing, don't, just sell yourself. You will get probably those 30 minutes with the interviewer. Don't think that, oh, I should not mention this. Oh, this does not, sound modest. As long as it's true, you can hold the truth. You should tell everything. So what Ketan mentioned was this Medness blog going for like 2.5 years now. And there were 1 or 2 places where, I thought that it did not come up. And I think that it's very special, and it shows that how interested I am in that kind of work. If I'm working for free for 2.5 years on something, that shows my this thing interest in that area. So I brought it upon that when people would ask you, okay, are there some things that you would want to tell? Please bring it upon. If there is something that you have done that's there on LinkedIn, there is something that you think that when they went through your CV and they did not pay attention to, please bring it on. That's your only chance to showcase your skills and highlight them. Do not let go of it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and one more thing I would do, I did, and it worked for me, was when I went for networking events, I talked to people, I came back, kept in touch with them on LinkedIn, and I printed a business card. Though I didn't have a job in Canada, I printed a business card, and I'm like, after I talked to people, I'm like, hey, this is my business card. It had just basic information about me, but it helped people remember me.
Perfect.
So I just see one question from Arijit, who is asking how easy is a career change after receiving a PR? It's as easy as or difficult as getting your first job here, because when you come to Canada, it will be slightly difficult for you to start from where you were back in your previous country. You will have to come down 1 or 2 steps. And that's exactly how it would be if you are going to, change your career. If there is any transferable skills that you can bring to your new field and you can convince the interviewers, you can get a job. All I'm trying to say is that, it seems difficult. There are a lot of immigrants coming. There is a lot of competition because we have a huge talent pool sitting in Canada is getting, ready to interview at any given day, any given time and everything. But don't give up. If everything is done right, you will get offers, you will get opportunities. And there is something that each of these settlement agencies, those career agencies tell you. You have a CV, you applied with the CV for, for 10 jobs. You did not hear back from even one. That means it's time to change your CV. Go through it, see if you were not targeting it enough. Was it not ATS compliant? What was it? Was it the style? What was it that did not get you? So the only thing is, it's, getting an interview is something that you should be getting based on your CV. How you perform an interview and everything else is a later thing. Happens at a later stage. But another thing that I wanted to point, because I got my first job and I quit it recently because I wanted to pursue something more, in the field that I would like to do, like consulting, more of consulting and market research. And I realized that this time when I'm more focused, I'm actually able to, get better responses. I hardly applied to 6 or 7 jobs. Anybody else, like last year in my position, I would have applied to say 60 jobs. But this time I applied to 6 jobs and I got 2 offers. I did not pick them up. And I'm taking this opportunity to thank my co-panelists, because I did get the offers through their network also. So I'm very thankful to them. But all I'm saying is that be targeted, be specific, and perform really well in your interviews. There is no stopping you. Don't think that you are a newcomer, there would be bias or anything. They want a good talent to come in their company as badly as you want to find a good company for your work.
Okay, Ketan, there was a question, I don't know if you answered it or not, which is about could you touch upon provincial nominations?
Okay. How much time do we have?
Well,
okay, I have one slide that I'll just show the slide and
Okay.
read through it really quick. So let me see. Uh, uh, okay. Okay. So I won't make it larger, but provincial nomination is basically every province of Canada has specific occupations that are in demand in that province. So if you have work experience in that in that particular field or job, then you can apply to that province's. So express entry is a federal thing, but the provincial nomination is specific to the province. So they have their own sort of express entry program, and you have to apply to the province directly, and then they see your profile and then they'll invite you based on your work experience, whether it matches their interest and things like that. So I am not the best person to talk about this, but this is kind of an overview of it. And you can find more information on the IRCC, or I'll also include these slides when I send it to Shohini, so you can take a look at that. But I will say PNP is for very specific professions. And for example, I looked for biologists. Biologists are not in demand, unfortunately, an in-demand profession in any of the provinces. So you can't use that to get in. But there are other things like electricians, chefs, things like that. So, okay, let's stop the share.
There's one last, it's a request from somebody saying that if anybody can share the format of CV or resume in Canadian style, just a format.
Sure, I can add it to my
you can Google it. I mean, there are several formats. You can Google it. It's not difficult to find. And like I said, even from India, you can connect to some settlement agencies and you can work with them. They will help you convert it. That's not difficult to find. And yeah, Devashri had asked, when should you start networking? To anybody and everybody sitting, start right away. Start just after this webinar, because there is no fixed date or anything. The longer you are visible to people, the more they remember about you, the more they would come back to you in case they can think of a fitting opportunity.
There's no telling how long it's going to take. So, and there's no harm in starting it earlier than later. So start it as early as possible. And this is true not just for PR, for anything. Start networking as soon as you can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I would always say, people normally reach out and ask, if you come across jobs it to me, I think that don't use that statement. It comes off as a put off. Actually, just ask, oh, I found this position in your company and I'd like to get more information about it. Are you available for a chat? I think that's the way you should word it. You should always find the position and ask for an informational interview.
Exactly.
And
Like,
getting that
make
information.
it easier for the other person. Don't leave the homework for them to do. The easier you make it for the other person to go through your information, to go through your question, to go through your query, the higher the chances for you to get a reply. At the end of it,
Wow, this
try
was,
to give it back.
I think we answered all the questions. Thanks to all of you. This was, I think, something that everybody was looking forward to and very informative. Again, as we mentioned before, the video will be up with links to the presentations and all the resources that have been mentioned in the webinar. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, just one last thing.
Yes.
Sohini, I think somebody had asked, and this is a question that comes very frequently when you're talking to people, whether what is better, coming to Canada and then look for a job, or having a job offer and then then landing here. So, whatever works for you. You give yourself a timeline that, okay, like I will try to apply, and if nothing happens, I will go there and then start afresh.
Yeah, and please be open to part-time and contract roles because they're very, very frequently seen in Canada, and they could act as a stepping stone for you to get into a more full-time role. So don't dismiss part-time roles, don't dismiss remote roles, don't dismiss even something like data entry or something like that, because it is getting your foot in the door. May not be the role you wanted, but it is getting your foot in the door.
Roshni, did you touch upon the 25-75 thing? I'm sorry because I missed your.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, like Roshni might have planned to touch upon that very few positions are advertised here. Say 25% are advertised and 80% people are fighting for those. Don't be one of those 80%. 75% of the jobs will be created and they will come through your referral and your network. So all of us cannot emphasize enough on networking, the power of networking here.
Okay, one last question. And we finish the session, which is getting a research scientist job or getting a postdoc, which is easy for an organic chemist right after PhD.
Oh my God. Okay.
Maybe a research scientist position in a startup or a postdoc in academia would be where you can start looking first.
Yeah, and someone did ask me about if I got a postdoc offer from a Canadian university, do I have to have PR to be able to go work there? No, they can sponsor your work permit. In fact, that's a much easier way, I think, because you're going in with a job and you spend a year there. You can A, figure out if you like Canada or not, and B, the 1 year of work experience will get you additional points that can go towards your PR application. So
and you're
that can actually
you're not worried sick about securing a job. You already have a job. That's the best
you already
thing.
have a job. I think it's called L something, right? The work permit in Canada. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's a equivalent to the H1B in the US. There's something equivalent to that in Canada. And that's fairly easy to get from what I understand if it's a postdoc. So you can talk to your university's immigration person and see.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're done with all the questions and everything. Once again, thank you, you guys, for taking time out on a Saturday morning, which is a long weekend for people in the USA. But
and Canada.
And Canada.
Yeah, the two people in Canada.
Yes. Yeah. And all those who attended. And there's a lot of thank you pouring in for all of you guys. So yeah. All right.
All right then.
Yeah, all the best, everybody. Yeah, don't give up. Like, keep trying, keep networking, and it will work out.
Yeah.
Like in Canada, things take time, and let's all have that in mind.
Yeah, like
it's a sad
realistic
reality.
Expectations, not unrealistic one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Shoini.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.